Hi, I'm here in Amsterdam with Dirk Jonker, the founder and CEO of Crunchr. Dirk, how you doing, sir? Great to see you.
Thanks for being
here. Hey, thanks for having me in this beautiful office here in Amsterdam. So, hey, we're going to talk about Crunchr, but before we do, I want to hear, as does our audience, about your personal story. Are you from Amsterdam?
Yeah, well, first of all, welcome to Amsterdam. Beautiful day here. I'm actually not from Amsterdam. I'm from a very small village in the north of the Netherlands. But I moved to Amsterdam for the bigger dream.
Yeah.
I really picked a study that you could only do in Amsterdam just to escape that small village.
What was that?
Oh my goodness, it's actuarial science. Do you know what it is?
I do, because I have friends, and there was an opportunity.
Really?
I have an economics background, so it's like it's a cousin.
Yeah,
a cousin. But did you know that you wanted to do that as a young person? I mean, what was your inspiration to go into it?
Actually, actuarial science is very closely related to operations research, and that I actually loved. So, how to basically model companies to optimize business performance through all kinds of elegant mathematics. And then actuarial science is indeed the big brother of this, where you also merge in some financial expertise. And that combination was magic. But I really had to explain to my family and friends what the heck an actuary actually is. So actually we went to downtown Amsterdam, and we made some interviews, and we asked random people in the street, do you know what an actuary is? You know what they told us? Is it a bird? Is it someone who does something with old books? It's like, no. You know, we make sure that your retirement savings and your insurances are safe.
Yeah. And here you are. You did that in uni, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
And so you graduated, and then what?
Yeah, so the natural path for an actuary is to start working either at an insurance company or in consulting. So I started to work for Willis Towers Watson back then. Loved the company, got the opportunity to transfer with them to the US, to New York, and this is really where my eyes were opened up, and but also where I thought like, okay, we built all these beautiful financial models, all these risk modeling, but for what? What is now the actual impact to business performance? I thought it was a very big distance, and that's basically when I decided to start my own firm in New York City, called Focus Orange.
Focus Orange?
Yes, exactly.
No bias towards the color of orange.
But exactly, it's,
right.
Yeah. It's funny that you say so, because I deliberately picked the word Focus Orange, because I thought back then New York could use a bit of the Dutch creativity, pragmatism, because I really was looking for ways how we could, beef up HR with the data that they already had and the elegant mathematics that is out there. So for 5 years I did strategy consulting in New York, and it was a fantastic time. Not so much fantastic for everyone, because this was also the start of the financial crisis, but this was my birth of people analytics. Huge questions, how can we save money and reinvest in growth there? How can we delayer companies? And there were very traditional ways of how to approach these very strategic problems. And I thought, couldn't we use a little bit of data science to this? So for 5 years, I did restructuring consulting, strategy consulting, using workforce data that companies already had, the elegant mathematics that was already out there, and to really make this impact that I was looking for.
So we're talking 2008, 2009 you started the journey?
Yeah, 2006 I started the company, and then in 2010, basically when the financial crisis was coming to an end, I met my wife, we got twins, and then Manhattan became really, really small.
Right. Well, so, congratulations
thanks.
on the twins. And so you stayed in the US for a period, or did you come back to home?
So we lived in New York for 5 years.
Okay.
And that was a natural moment to come back to Europe, to build out the Focus Orange business. Still data science basically on HR topics, but a very much consulting-led organization. And in 2014, I decided with my partners back then to say, you know what? Also, this is a very natural moment to split the company, where we have the domain knowledge in the consulting, but let's build, and this was always my dream, technology so that everyone could use exactly the same data science consulting on their own workforce data. and that became Crunchr.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you obviously saw the need for something that was sustainable, not just
Exactly.
going in and doing a project that, hey, we're going to build capability on behalf of our clients. Now, who were you serving by and large? Did you focus on North American companies, European companies, mid-size, large enterprises? What did that look like?
Yeah, in terms of geo spread, the focus really became on European companies because we were, headquartered here. And in terms of size of companies, anything between 2,000 and 100,000 employees. I think the birth and development of Focus Orange, the consulting firm, really helped me to understand the business questions. The strategy consulting background really helped me to understand how do leaders in finance and business think, and also to see the big gap between what HR delivered back then. And also get appreciation of the data. There's a lot of data, but often in different systems, not often very clean. So this was a fantastic playground basically for me to really think together with the tech team, how can we solve this problem?
Yeah, my mind is going several different directions. I wanted to be disciplined in my asks here because Focus Orange is out here understanding the use cases and in fact creating them, correct me if I'm wrong.
Exactly.
And now you're building the tech to support those. And the question that I have is, I'm tempted to ask then versus now, and I'll ask it then. The gap between the ability to adopt this insight that you're generating through Crunchr in meaningful, actionable ways, and the need for a helping hand, which was Focused Orange at the time, if you follow me.
Yeah.
Like, because the business readiness, if you will,
Yeah.
I've found over the years, and again, I say this compassionately, not critically, hasn't been there. They haven't had the team to consume the data. They didn't have the governance processes and so forth. So the pointed question for you, have you seen a healthy evolution over the years since you founded Crunchr where the business readiness among your clients is higher, and is Focused Orange still out there and other firms doing that work?
Yeah, so Focus Orange I sold to PwC 2 years ago.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you. And this really allowed us all to really focus on Crunchr. But it also showed that we need to have a very strong customer success arm within Crunchr to help companies and our clients to make the most out of their own data using Crunchr. So indeed, the consulting basically bridges this gap between here are the insights and here's the business impact, because it only goes through context, meaningful interactions between HR, employees and business management, and that we try to solve with our very strong consulting background and consulting arm, but also through the technology. So we have a mantra within our product and tech team, which is that Crunchr needs to be fast, simple and guided. So that resulted in a radical design change 5 years ago, where we said the only thing that the user needs to do is scroll down in the story builds. And on whatever metric or whatever chart they don't feel comfortable with, like, is this correct? 14.6% voluntary turnover in the development team, whatever. You click, boom, and either you see names, you see trends, you see context, and you see a narrative. So Crunchr starts to generate narratives, and that's really what I want. So that the technology makes it super easy for people who are curious but maybe don't have a data background to also make it available. So basically, people analytics for people.
Yeah, I absolutely celebrate your approach, and we've talked on many occasions now, and the fact that you are building narratives, stories, because that's how people learn, that's what people remember.
Exactly.
Steven Pinker out of Harvard talks about them as being the building blocks of thought, and thus retention and inspiring certain feelings and in turn behaviors. So I really celebrate that, and I was thinking as you were sharing, I could hug you for that, because many in the software industry have wanted, okay, here's software, let the world decide how it's going to be used. But you're very consciously saying, hey, we're going to help not only in terms of the product, but in terms of advising your clients to get where they want to go with customer success. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you still don't make this impact.
Right.
So what we see many times go wrong with these people analytics projects, also with tech vendors, is that the technology is central. Oh, let's make 100,000 APIs, let's look at all these connections. And while this is not bullseye, what bullseye is what are the relevant business questions? Let's build product around it for everyone to be able to answer these business questions. And let's make sure that the abilities and the capabilities of HR are best utilized. You know,
Yeah.
that's and from there we go into technology. But it's not the game of, listen, we have so much data, we have to do something with AI, and what can we do? Now, come on.
Yeah.
We're better than that.
Yeah, no, I love it. You're talking about enablement. You're talking about helping HR focus on the value that they can deliver. And we're talking about HR, and obviously HR is in the Crunchr name. It's also the case where you're developing strategic value for executives and business leaders. As you move forward in time, what do you hope for Crunchr and the people analytics space in general?
I think having a focus is still super important. So Crunchr will never become a supply chain analytics solution or a finance analytics solution. But what I see is that basically within companies we have here the island of HR, we have here the island of business, here the island of finance, and at these islands they speak different languages. So we need to build bridges between HR and finance. So within Crunchr we talk about cost centers, we talk about FTE, we talk about waterfall charts, we talk finance language. But we also talk business language. So for workforce planning we use business demand drivers. So I don't know, an airline company might have business demand drivers as in the number of long-haul flights or the number of passengers that we ship. So Crunchr will always stay on the HR island, but build bridges basically to the other islands within the company to make connections.
Yeah. No, thank you for saying that, because many either consciously or unconsciously put themselves out as being all things to everyone, and that's not only within HR going out, it's others with a different domain specialization, whether it be finance or operations, thinking that they can do HR. At the end of the day, I believe your model is correct, is that particularly given the sensitivity of HR data. And before I get too far away from it, you mentioned airlines and you have a workshop around airlines, and I just saw this flight simulator that you have here in the office, which is amazing. So tell us about how people learn how to not only use Crunchr, but to think about people analytics and actually drive change within an organization.
Yeah, so we indeed developed this Crunchr Airlines workshop, where also the business questions are super central. So we play this workshop with executive MBAs, so with a lot of people that do not have an HR background, or with HR leaders that want to think more on what's happening on the other islands. So Crunchr Airlines is a demo company where we generated a hyper-realistic data set with tons of business data. We loaded this into Crunchr. And then the workshop is all about starting to understand what beautiful things and powerful things you can do on the data that you already have. So these are questions, very open-ended questions, such as, this demo company needs to save 200 million US. What are the options? Or how are we performing with diversity, equity, and inclusion? Question mark. How can we better find, grow, and keep our people? Period. So, and then what happens, it's almost magical. When you put people from different companies in one team, and even people not only from different companies, but also from different backgrounds. So, for example, MBAs who are born and raised in finance and business and sometimes HR, you start to create new solutions. And because there's no one way to Rome, as we say it here, maybe also in the US, this is where real innovation happens. And after 2.5 hours, whether I do these workshops in the US or at business schools here in Europe, people start to say like, wowzers, is this what we can do with people data? This is what we want. Yeah. Finally, we start talking about business language, about not only how much money can we save, but also when can we recognize these cost savings? What is the ease of implementation, etc. So after 2 hours, people are hyped. It's really cool.
Well, not only is it cool, it's something that it takes it out of the esoteric. Like people analytics is intimidating for many.
Yes.
Within HR and outside of HR. It's like, what is that? It sounds esoteric. It sounds like someone's trying to be smart. But it really, as we know, delivers tangible value. That's
Exactly.
not months or years out. It's right here. It's a conscious decision whether or not to adopt a solution like Crunchr and start doing this work.
I mean, if you think about it, El, 9 months ago, everyone was still talking about the Great Resignation, remember?
Yeah.
Right now, we are supposedly entering a big recession, where inflation becomes a big topic, and where companies are not talking only about top-line growth anymore, but quality of revenue and about margins. So the questions change all the time. And apart from that, business wants to know their D&I performance, and wants to know if they have the right skills to survive in the future and to win. So the number of questions are bigger than ever, and we want faster answers than ever. But if you now see how companies are answering these questions, it's kind of funny almost. I mean, you're my business leader and I'm your HR sidekick. I'm your HR business partner. You ask me a simple question. For example, Dirk, we have a lot of headwind. We have to reduce money. We have to reduce cost. What are the options?
Yeah.
I go and I try to fiddle around myself a bit. Workday, Oracle, SAP are beautiful core systems, but nowhere near to answer these type of questions.
Right.
So what do? I try to export the data into Excel. I try to make some graphs to see where we spend currently money. And then it's difficult, so I pull in my people analytics resources or some other consultants within the company, maybe externally. They try to download data out of Excel, and 2 or 3 weeks later, I come back to you. First, I need to get airtime with you, so that takes another week. And then 1 month later, after your very simple question, what are the options to reduce money? Your head is already, 200 miles further up. Yeah. And then you look at my analysis and you say like, yeah, but Dirk, what I really meant was for my region. Can you redo it? I go back. These people say like, oh, you want this again? Let's download again. The numbers do not align because data have changed. And this is why we as HR have it very difficult to make impact. It takes a long time. The data is always inaccurate, and we can't get into these data-driven conversations. So that's BC, before Crunchr. After Crunchr, AD, or AC, after deployment, AD, is basically, L, why don't we look together? Click, boom, the story builds. And whenever you have questions like, is this number right? Do we really have 9 reporting layers? I scroll down, because we know this question is coming, and there's your answer. Dirk, but why don't you take out the contractors? Click, boom, done, boom. That is about building a data-driven culture. And that is a change that we really like to see happening. But for that, again, we need to help HR bridge these different islands. And the technology, of course, needs to be fast, intuitive, blah, blah, blah. But it's really about making sure that HR feels comfortable. So that's a whole deployment program, designed around that.
I so celebrate what you're sharing, and I have been in this field longer than I care to admit, and I've heard time and again that we're at this, we're going to enter the tornado. Things are going to grow. Everyone's going to do people analytics. I'm finally, particularly with the pandemic as an accelerator, seeing this happen. And I'm seeing organizations, and not only HR organizations, but organizations as a business outperforming others who have not adopted people analytics solutions. So my narrative is that it's irresponsible for a leader not to have a solution like Crunchr. So it invites the question of those who are not investing in Crunchr and the likes of them, why not? And what do you tell those leaders? What do you see as the barrier to entry?
I think right now, these big questions that we talked about before, they are on the table. But there is a group of companies that try to build something themselves, started to appreciate what they want to know, but also that it's not so easy to build something like this. I mean, we're here with almost 100 people, have been building this product for 8 years. This is not something that you build yourself, right?
Yeah,
In
build
any
it,
department.
maintain, enhance it,
Exactly.
deal with the HR, unless you
Yeah.
want to, if you can write the job descriptions, enable those people with resources, enable them with career opportunities, I mean, that's a whole thing, and
Yeah.
that's what you all are doing. You're specialists in this field.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it gets me all fired up to hear that. So, with that, are you seeing an awareness that, hey, this is a unique value proposition, and investing in the likes of Crunchr is a worthwhile way to go?
So for a while, the whole people analytics field was all about, hey, if you do not have this, you miss out on blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. We try to position it as an opportunity. So for many companies who are private equity owned, you know what's happening. I mean, interest rates are going up, free cash flow is coming down, and therefore it's the investors basically that start to look for margins, for profit. So it's an opportunity for HR to step up and say like, listen, we did our homework. We want to show you something. There's a few things that we can do here. Same with business. We want to be closer to our markets, faster to the customers. We heard all of that, and this is what we can do to reduce time to hire, to reduce ramp up for new sales reps. This is what people analytics can do for you. So we really approach it from an opportunistic point of view. This is what it can do to you. But for that, again, we need to empower HR and show them that people analytics is just a tool, and that it can be easy.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up, and if you have anything else to share, please do. So here we are, we're at the end of 2022. As you mentioned, inflation is a concern. There's been, in what I call the age of perpetual disruption, these changes are not going away. And as you just shared, Crunchr reduces risks and increases the likelihood that the investments that you do make are going to reap the desired return. You can run scenarios and all these fun things. So if I want to get into this career, into this field, what is your advice to either an aspiring people analytics professional or someone who is in HR who wants to better understand what people analytics is all about? What do you say to them?
Go talk to business leaders.
Yeah.
To really understand what keeps you awake at night, and don't start with what kind of data models do we need, what kind of API integrations are out there. Listen, back to bullseye. It's all about back to bullseye. So go talk to your business leaders and say like, how can we help you to increase sales? Okay, so maybe this is more about getting more salespeople on board, making sure that the field hires in the sales team is low, getting them ramped up fast, having the right sales incentive plans. Are these sales incentive plans working, yes or no? Talk to business managers and then open your HR heart to see what you can do. And the people analytics or the technology or the data is really secondary.
Gosh. I thank you for saying that because there's a bunch of work, and a lot of it is great. This is not a criticism. It is, however, a distinction that I think is worth making that highlights what you just shared, is data-driven storytelling. That implies that I'm going to look at data and I'm going to tell a story based on what I see in the data. What I am really interested in, what stories should we be telling in the first place? And can we find data that supports or challenges those narratives? And those stories, in my view, are the hypotheses, the way that our internal customers are thinking. So really taking your HR expertise as an HR business partner, for example, engaging them in meaningful ways, and then that story starts to emerge. You just find data to go along with it. Is that what you're advocating?
Totally. If you are more of a technical background and you really like to start with data as an entry point, then a tip that I would have for the audience is to start creating appetizers. So what are these appetizers? You always have hypotheses, and you can always time box certain hypotheses. For example, in the next half hour, I'm going to look at the data to see what could potentially be optimized in the recruiting pipeline, whatever. Or spans layers, very big nowadays. Or we're getting into succession planning season, what do I see here? And what I would advise the people who have a bit more technical background and who are a bit more distant from business is to create little sound bites. For example, hey, business leader, did you know that we hired 220 people? 58 already left within the first year. It comes at a cost of 2 million US. Would this be remotely interesting to look at? Then the business leader might say, thank you, but no, because we have a hiring freeze and this question is important but not relevant anymore. Yeah. Okay, then I just wasted 30 minutes and not 2 weeks or a month. And all these appetizers I'm going to feed, and it's almost like restaurant week, right? Mm-hmm. At some moment, people are going to buy it and say like, Al, what the heck is happening here? Yeah. Do we really have 12 reporting layers? And is our span of control in the field sales really 5.8 on average? What's the impact? What are we going to do about it? Yeah. And then basically you have a legitimacy to dive deeper into this. Mm-hmm. So I talk a lot about building people analytics as a startup. Mm-hmm. And this is all about that. You have limited money. From the CHRO, you got some funding to hire maybe, 2 or 3 people, some small investments to buy some data or to fetch in some tools. Listen, you need to show value within the quarter. Otherwise, the next funding round is not going to happen. So therefore, these sound bites, and that you can create super easily. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know if I'm going to look at an appetizer the same way again. I want more of that, All right, Dirk, as we wrap up, may I ask you some rapid fire questions real quick?
Of course.
All right. So, what's your favorite genre of music?
Oh, I like everything from Eastern European folk to musicals to very classical music. It depends on my mood.
Okay.
Yes.
Eastern European folk, we're going to have to educate. We're going to have to provide some examples down in the comments. So inspirations, like whether it be back in time or current, whether it be a book you've read, a public speaker, influencer, like who is someone that you look to for inspiration?
I look to many podcasts for inspiration. Yeah. What I like is variety, mm-hmm. and then what happens in my head is that I start to connect all kinds of things, get enthusiastic, validate it, but the constant inflow of interesting things, and this mm-hmm. could be in math, this could be in science, it could be in business, in politics, I don't care, I need to be fed with all kinds of different signals.
I love it.
And then magic happens, at least to me.
No, I thank you for that answer, because I totally celebrate, bringing in music, bringing in, certain activities, news, and synthesizing. So it's
people analytics is so young.
It's very analytical,
and we need to look broader than just analytics. Yeah, yes. No. Otherwise, everyone is building a fax machine that can do more pages in a minute and has more colors, but no one understands the bigger problem.
Got it. Yeah. No. Yeah. Thank you. What do you do for fun?
I love to cycle. Mm-hmm. I love to go.
You're Dutch and you love to cycle.
Yes. even in the rain, Al.
Impressive.
I love to talk to people who are way outside my profession. Mm-hmm. I love to help people.
Well, Dirk, thank you. You're an inspiration to me. Oh, and congratulations on what you've done with Crunchr, and may it continue. And any closing comments for our listeners?
Well, maybe, Al, since we are friends, I would love to share something very special with you.
Please.
And that is that I'm going to move.
Where are you going?
In 1.5 months to Boston, because we are going to open our US office.
Wow.
And expand there. We're going to take a bunch of people here from the Amsterdam office. We are hiring full on in Boston.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes, so basically Crunchr is coming back to the US, but now with a big product.
Wow,
so
big news.
It's fantastic.
Well, I'll shake your hand again. Congratulations.
Thanks,
and I won't have to fly across the pond anymore to come see you. So again, Dirk, super appreciate what you've done, not only in serving your clients, but for the broader community. So keep up the great work.
Always.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, man.
See you in Boston.
All right, see you in Boston.
All right, be well.
Wicked.
All right.